Ben Habib, how important is it to negotiate in good faith and in particular stay with the spirit and the letter of international law?
Well, I think it's very important, but where I would differ with Louise is that I think the European Union has acted in bad faith from the very beginning in this negotiation. You know, if you go back to the Article 50 process, the United Kingdom had the right during the Article 50 process to leave the European Union pursuant to its own constitutional requirements. But actually, during that 3.5-year period, the EU conspired with anti-Brexit forces in this country, and it made our life incredibly difficult, ending up effectively, and now what the Prime Minister has admitted, the annexation of Northern Ireland, which is a fundamental breach of our constitution. You know, breaches the Acts of Union of 1800, of 1920, and it's the EU here that needs to be in the dock, not the government. Our government is now eventually, quite late in the day, but eventually standing up for actually what is right for the United Kingdom.
Louisa, can we just talk about some of the... I know you're shaking your head there. I'm not sure we've got time for you to address some of the remarks that were just made by Ben Habib there, but just on the specific obstacles that Lord Frost and Michel Barnier today will be addressing. We've got fisheries, we've got state aid. There's talk of progress this week. I mean, it's disputed as to who's giving ground on fisheries. But on the point about state aid, I mean, as a Liberal Democrat, where do you come on that? Because there is a strong argument that says, you know, if it's true that Dominic Cummings says the UK should enjoy the sort of advantage that the US has had by investing massive amounts of money on big infrastructure projects, for instance, even in things like tech, to give the UK a massive competitive international advantage. Would you not support that?
So I think it's really important to be clear that all the EU is asking for is for us to comply with the standards that we have signed up to, and that includes rules around state aid. The EU is rightly concerned about protecting the single market, and so that's why they're coming from that perspective. And ultimately, if the Conservative government had a problem with any of these terms, then they should not have signed up to the Withdrawal Agreement in the first place. Tory MPs all stood on a mandate, stood in the election. They actually got a mandate for this Withdrawal Agreement. It's passed through Parliament. They can't now start reneging and saying that they've got problems with aspects of it. They should have allowed more time to scrutinise it in the first place if they thought that was a problem.
Ben, I mentioned the two areas that there seem to be substantive disagreements on still. There's state aid. I mentioned fisheries as well. Would you be worried that Britain's trawler men and women, I'm not sure how many trawler women there are, but you know what I mean, people who derive a living from the sea, will be sold down the river by this government in negotiations?
Well, I do fear that. And we discovered a couple of weeks ago that the EU had declined an offer from Lord Frost for up to 50% of our fish, which cut across the promises made by the Prime Minister in the manifesto, which was to take back total control of our fishing, and also cut across, I think, declarations he made in Parliament in late December when he said that actually we would afford the EU no more than annual rights and quotas determined unilaterally by the United Kingdom. So we're already beginning to see the UK blink. And actually, as far as this latest IM bill is concerned, the Prime Minister is already blinking on that as well. You know, they're painting a brave picture on Neil's amendment, but Neil's amendment effectively wrests control away from the executive back to Parliament. And that cannot be good for the United Kingdom's negotiating position, which I assume was part of the reason why this IM bill was put forward. It cannot be good for our negotiating position for now us to be taking a step back from it. And, you know, I think we've done untold damage to our own negotiating position in the last 48 hours by allowing that to happen.
Luisa Porritt, some people espy within the UK-Japan trade deal evidence of growing pragmatism on the part of British trade negotiators. Is there a sense, perhaps, which we are reaching, and this is a question that we've been putting for a while now, that the clock really is ticking? October the 15th, Prime Minister says there's a deadline for the negotiations to be completed by the end of the year, obviously looming as well. The clock's ticking.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I don't think that our negotiators have been pragmatic. I think they've been very churlish throughout, and we've seen a complete atmosphere that lacks good faith. why we are now in a situation whereby the clock is running down and we're in serious danger of going towards no deal, or frankly, a deal that is akin to that in terms of the economic consequences for our economy, which is already in recession as a result of the pandemic. So it's an extremely worrying situation. And from the EU side, certainly my contacts in Brussels have said that they feel a deal or the framework of the deal, all these details that have to still be hashed out, ones you've mentioned, fisheries, governance, having a level playing field, all of these things which are fundamental for the EU. They need all of that to be resolved by the end of October, so that in terms of how the EU's processes work, there is time for that to go through the respective committees that need to scrutinise that deal, for it to then all be signed off and in place before the end of December, so that a deal is actually there by the time the deadline expires. So it's really, really tight, actually. It's not impossible to see them overcoming those particular sticking points, but actually, if we've got a government that isn't exercising goodwill and isn't willing to compromise and is just going to play this game of grandstanding, then that's how we are going to end up in a no-deal situation.
OK, just time for one brief thought more. Ben Habib, if it is to be no deal, is the UK ready?
Well, I'm not convinced the UK is ready. I welcome a no-deal outcome. I think the reason for Brexit is so that we can diverge from the European Union. I don't want the United Kingdom to be locked into a level playing field under all their laws and subject to fishing quotas and so on. So I want a no-deal outcome. And actually, I think the government needs to be braver, and it needs to ditch the withdrawal agreement altogether. There isn't a single positive thing in the withdrawal agreement.
Then that's breaking the law.
Pages.
You know, you're
all
talking about breaking the law.
All 572 pages of that document favour the EU. They do not favour the United Kingdom, and they were foisted on us under duress. We were coerced into that document when the United Kingdom was in a constitutional crisis, created in part. Created that constitutional crisis. That constitutional crisis was created in part by people like Luisa and her party, who conspired with the EU against British national interests, and we should ditch it.
OK, Ben Habib and Luisa Porritt, both former MEPs, but still clearly capable of marshalling some arguments with some passion. Appreciate your time. Thanks very much.